The night the storm came, no one expected to find her. No one expected her to be alive, and no one, least of all the man who pulled her from the sea, could have known that saving her life would set in motion the unraveling of the most powerful conspiracy Greyhaven had ever seen. The Atlantic off the coast of Greyhaven, Maine, did not forgive mistakes. On the best of nights, the water was cold and unrelenting. On the worst, it became something else entirely, a living, breathing force that swallowed boats whole and returned nothing. The fishermen of Greyhaven knew this. They had grown up with it. They had buried fathers and uncles because of it. And they had learned, over generations, to read the sky the way other men read books. Ethan Cole read it wrong that night. He had left the dock at 10:30, long after the other boats had gone in. The radio had crackled with warnings before he lost reception near the outer shoals, but he had ignored them. He needed the money. He always needed the money. His son Noah had a field trip coming up, $42, which seemed like nothing to most people and everything to Ethan. His engine needed a new fuel line. The electric bill had been sitting on the kitchen counter for 3 weeks, with a red notice stamp across the top. So Ethan had taken his 23-foot wooden trawler, the one his father had left him, and pointed it east into the dark. The storm hit with no warning at all. One moment the sea was flat and black and quiet, and the next, swells were rising 6, 8, 10 feet around him, the trawler groaning and pitching on each one like it was trying to throw him overboard. Rain came sideways. Lightning strobed across the horizon. Ethan killed the outboard and fought to keep the bow into the waves, his hands raw on the wheel, salt water burning in his eyes. He thought, distantly, about Noah sleeping at home, under his blue blanket with the cartoon fish on it. He thought about how he had promised the boy he would be back before sunrise. He almost missed her entirely. He saw the shape first pale and formless in the trough between two swells, barely above the surface. His mind told him it was a buoy, or a cooler, or a plastic drum. Fishermen saw all kinds of debris in these waters. He almost steered past, almost, but something made him look twice. The shape moved, not with the waves against them. A hand, fighting uselessly against 300 miles of open ocean. One arm raised and dropped, with the mechanical desperation of someone who had not yet accepted they were dying. Ethan did not think. He cut the engine, grabbed the life ring off the stern rail, and went in. The water hit him like a fist. 47 degrees. His chest seized, and his vision went white at the edges. He forced himself to kick, to move, to pull toward that pale shape in the dark. He was not a young man anymore. His shoulders ached on clear days, and his right knee had been bad since a dock accident 3 years ago. But he swam. He reached her in under a minute. She was face up, barely. Her mouth was open, pulling in more water than air. Her hair was black and plastered flat across her face. She wore the remnants of what had once been a very expensive dress, silk or something like it now, torn at one shoulder and soaked through. Ethan looped the ring under her arms, got his own arm around her chest, and fought his way back to the trawler one brutal yard at a time. Getting her aboard took everything he had. He hauled her over the transom and onto the deck, and stood bent over, hands on his knees, shaking. She was not breathing well. He turned her on her side, and she coughed a terrible, retching sound, and expelled what seemed like a gallon of seawater. He stayed with her through 2 more coughing fits until her breathing steadied, ragged but present. The storm was still raging. He wrapped her in his own oilskin, and got them both below. It was only then, in the dim orange light of the cabin, that he saw the bruises. They were on her left wrist, and her upper arms dark. Deliberate marks that had not come from the sea. Her left hand was scraped raw across the knuckles, and there was a cut above her right ear that was still seeping. Ethan looked at those marks for a long time, saying nothing. He pointed the trawler back toward Greyhaven. When he pulled into the dock, it was close to 2 in the morning. He carried her to the truck. She weighed almost nothing, which frightened him, and drove the 3 miles to his house on the edge of the pines. The porch light was on. It was always on. He had never been able to break the habit. Even now, Noah heard the door. The boy appeared at the top of the stairs in his pajamas, squinting against the light, small and serious-faced, even half asleep. Ethan explained quickly. Quietly, Noah did not ask unnecessary questions. He was 10 years old, and he had grown up in this house, and he understood, with the instinct of a child who has learned early what emergencies look like. Exactly what was needed. Together they got her to the spare room. Noah brought towels and the extra blanket from the hall closet. Ethan found dry clothes, a flannel shirt, and a pair of sweatpants that had belonged to his wife and left them folded on the chair by the door. He cleaned the cut above her ear as carefully as he could and wrapped her wrist. Her breathing was steady now. Her color was coming back. Noah fell asleep in the armchair beside the door, his head tilted to one side. Ethan sat at the kitchen table and looked at his own hands, red and cracked and trembling slightly. He made coffee. He did not drink. He thought about calling someone. A doctor, the county sheriff's office, anyone, but something stopped him. He was not sure what. He went back to the spare room to check on her. He reached for her wet jacket, hung on the peg inside the door, meaning to drape it more carefully. It fell from his hands when he picked it up, not because of its weight, because of what fell out of the inside pocket. A compact 9mm handgun, small and matte black, landed on the hardwood floor, with a sound that seemed enormous in the silence of the house. Ethan stood very still. He looked at the gun on the floor. He looked at the woman asleep in the bed. He bent slowly, picked up the gun, and set it on the dresser across the room. He stood there for a long time. Then he walked back to the kitchen, sat down, and did not sleep at all. She woke up screaming. Not loudly, it was more of a sharp, involuntary sound. The kind that comes when someone snaps back into consciousness from a nightmare that felt entirely real. Ethan was at the door in 3 seconds flat. She was upright in the bed, both hands raised in front of her, eyes wide and wild, and scanning. He stopped in the doorway. He did not move toward her. "You're okay," he said. "Just that. Plain and even. You're in my house. I pulled you out of the water last night. You're safe." She stared at him. Her chest was heaving. Then, slowly, something in her face settled not into calm exactly, but into a controlled state. Like a person who had spent a long time teaching themselves not to show fear. "Where am I?" she asked. "Greyhaven.